Good evening, everyone. I hope you're all doing great. I need to cover something very important with you tonight. And if you come in late into the stream, please go and watch the beginning of the stream so that you can understand what this is about. And this is a very simple concept I want to bring across. This shouldn't last more than 10 minutes. So it'll be a quick live stream, but I want you to please like and share this video. It's open to everybody. So like and share it. And if you actually look at uh, the problem that I'll be addressing now, you will be shocked to see how people of this country have been bamboozled. So please like and share this video, share it with your friends and family. The last two videos I've done have both reached over 30,000 views. Thanks to you. I really want to thank you for that. And we've reached 44,000 subscribers on the channel. That is really incredible. And hopefully this video will let people realize what we are going to face money-wise with what is called the just energy transition and how much money our government will need to spend in the next 30 years to do this transition away from coal. And I'm not a proponent of any specific power generation type. At the end of the day, governments need to make decisions with regards to how they want to do things, and people suffer for it or they are successful because of it. In our country, our leaders do not make decisions themselves. They are told what to do by people around the world that have not been elected because we need to borrow money, because our country's been made weak. So welcome to the 90 people watching now. I'm sure these numbers will grow as we go and get into this video. So there's an article that I want to focus on now, and this is from Business Tech. And the headline says South Africa's $8.5 billion move away from coal comes with a big catch. And the biggest catch in this article, and I'll give you a link to this article in the comment section. Hi, Annette. There's the link to the article. You'll also get it in the description below the video as well as in the first comment. You will see that there's a very big catch. So there's this carrot being dangled in front of us where they are telling us that we'll get 8.5 billion US dollars, which is a substantial amount of money, if we start moving away from coal. And we know President Cyril Ramaphosa has gone and spoken to Joe Biden, and Joe Biden has said they will help us to move away from our coal. And as I famously said, so that they can get the coal for themselves, so that Europe can get our coal for themselves, so that we don't use it. And it's actually incredible to see this playing out. It's absolutely shocking. But the export coal market is far more lucrative to these companies than South Africa. And I've said many times before, many of the farmers in our country only benefit the farm workers because they are exporting everything. It is not supporting us at all, not the people of South Africa. So you need to think, where do the items go that is produced in our soil, that comes out of our soil? Where is it actually going? If it's going out of the country, it doesn't directly benefit all the people in the country. So in this article, and let me just put the link in the chat again, you need to be really, really concerned. So go and open that article, look at the link. There's a catch here, because later they will say that this just energy transition will cost us $250 billion. This is 4.5 trillion rand in the next 30 years. Who of you can remember the Jacob Zuma nuclear deal that everyone spoke about for 10 to 12,000 megawatts of Russian nuclear energy being purchased? I oppose that deal personally. And if you actually look at people saying, pundits saying at the time it would cost 1 trillion rand, that was certainly not true. It would have been closer to 300 to 400 billion rand, okay, to build that capacity. Now we're seeing the true cost of transitioning to solar as well as wind in South Africa to replace all the coal-fired power stations. Now the true cost is coming out, 4.5 trillion rand. It makes that nuke deal look like an absolute dinky toy joke. But all it will do is replace the current capacity. If you had to spend that on nuclear, for instance, you would be able to put in 100 1,000 megawatts worth of nuclear. But you see, with renewables, you cannot get that because they're not available all the time. You would need to spend the cost on the battery banks that back that up. And now I'm speaking about the large scale grid. I'm not speaking about you in your home becoming energy independent. This is a large scale grid for big industry. So let's dig into this article and look at the details. And this is absolutely shocking. And I want you to understand this. It says President Cyril Ramaphosa's pledge to lessen the country's dependency on coal energy has been green-lit, but the money promised by foreign jurisdictions is coming with more terms and conditions than expected. It was always going to be the case. I've always said that every bit of money that is loaned to us will come with conditions. That is why we should be energy independent. We should be electricity independent. We should be able to build our own nuclear power stations, our own coal-fired power stations, our own hydro stations, whatever we want. We should be able to build it ourselves, and we absolutely had the ability to do that before, which means we can create that ability again. Speaking to Bloomberg, Minister of Environment, Forestry and Fisheries, Barbara Greasy, said that the government underestimated how complicated the offer was when it was made. They will underestimate everything because they are incompetent. And I've explained in detail in the last live stream, which has reached 20,000 views. Thank you so much. Showing you that the ANC was never going to be able to govern. It's impossible for them to govern properly. They were always designed to fail this country. She said that there are several partners and development institutes involved, and they have their own terms and conditions based on their individual fiscal cycles. Earlier this year, on the 6th of July, Ramaphosa announced a just transition framework under the Presidential Climate Commission that aims to set out policy measures and undertakings by different social partners to minimize the social and economic impacts of a long-term move away from coal. A whole lot of political speak that says absolutely nothing except that jy gaan deur jou neus betaal. You'll be paying through your nose for our transition away from coal. The president of Environmental Summit, COP26, Alok Sharma, said that the agreement between South Africa and regions such as the US, UK, and the EU to unlock 8.5 billion of investment for South Africa is aimed specifically to assist in the transitioning away from coal. So they won't give the money if that money is not used for us to shut down our coal-fired power stations. And you need to ask yourself, why? According to a study conducted by COP26, South Africa, and this is the crux, is the world's 13th biggest source of greenhouse gases and will need to spend over 250 billion US dollars, 4.5 trillion rand over the next 30 years to fund the closing of coal-fired plants and develop green alternatives. There you have the true cost. This is them telling you, not me coming up with fake figures. This is their figures. And I'm sure it's actually much worse than that, because I'm sure they're not including all the power lines that you need to build to new sites where there wasn't any power generation before. It doesn't include the battery banks that you need to put in and the many other things that you would require. Greasy said negotiations are discussing what proportion of the climate funding placed by the US, UK, Germany, France, and the European Union last year will be in the form of concessional loans and grants. So this 8.5 billion is not just going to come our way. They want to get their greedy hands on that money. But in the end, when they start that and they start shutting down our coal-fired power stations, we are going to fork out the other 241.5 billion rand, which is going to be 4.2 to 4.3 trillion. People, this is not a good deal. This is a very, very bad deal. The US Special Presidential Envoy for Climate said that progress for the agreement is up to Ramaphosa, Bloomberg reported. So we have a so-called president in a so-called democracy, in a so-called sovereign state, but we are none of those, because he's being dictated to. He must now decide, will you fall in line with us or not? What is he going to do? What do you think he's going to do? And the thing is, this just transition has just been transferred like that into Eskom. And Andre de Ruyter has no choice but to implement all of these actions. He doesn't actually have a mind of his own within Eskom. He is just there to implement government policy. Then the visit to the US, Ramaphosa landed in Washington, and this article was from the 16th of September, and he's set to meet with his counterpart, President Joe Biden, to discuss, among other things, energy, climate change, as well as trade and investment. We know that he was invited to the West Wing of the White House. This is unheard of. The fact that Ramaphosa visited the West Wing meant that they had private discussions. Private discussions. Other heads of state aren't invited there. You need to ask, why is Biden doing this? And at the end of the day, I can tell you that his family will benefit, Ramaphosa's family will benefit, and they are going to be scooping money like you cannot believe. Because first, they will create a crisis by shutting down our coal fleet early. It's not as if they're not doing a good job at doing that themselves at this stage, and we're battling to keep it going. But these people are absolutely insane. How on earth are we going to come up with those kinds of funds as taxpayers? I have no idea how we will be able to fund this. And I want you to think about it. I want you to spread this message. I want you to let people know that our future generations, your kids, are going to be forking out this ridiculous amount of money. So I really want to thank you for coming into this live stream, and I want you to share this with your friends and family. I will be in the members live now at 8 o'clock, so I'll be seeing you there. If you have any questions, you can ask me any of those questions. But those of you that came in later into this chat, there's 200 of us. Please go and share this video. Like this video and share this video. We have 73 likes now. There, I've given you the link to the article again. And it says they're speaking to the SABC. The International Relations Minister, Naledi Pandor, said in regards to Ramaphosa's trip that detailed conversations have just begun in terms of the conditions that are set for the $8.5 billion agreement. Now, like I said, that is just $8.5 billion. Where is the other $241.5 billion going to come from in the next 30 years? From you and me, from the taxpayers. And this is how people are fooled. She said that a lot still has to be mapped out, but is encouraged by signs that serious commitments to a just transition energy plan are being put forward post COP27. Really? Who is going to suffer the consequences of all of these crazy decisions? And I quote her, this is probably one of the first times details around the plan are actually pursued. You see, it's easy for them to just talk and for the mainstream media to throw out these things. We're going to shut down our coal plants. We're going to transition to wind and solar. And it's going to cost us 4.5 trillion rand. The big issue is around the promised funding, she added. This is all they care about. They want this money they're going to get from someone else because they're going to pocket it and run for the hills. That's what's going to happen. And I really want to thank you for coming into this live stream, the 200 of you that came in on such short notice. And people, share this information. It's very important that people understand how we are being bamboozled. This is very important. People, 4.5 trillion. Go and type it out on a calculator, on your PC, and try and comprehend how much money that is. That is 4,500 billion. And if you don't know how much a billion is, it's 9 zeros. It is absolutely insane what is happening right now. So thank you so much for joining me, and please like this video, share it with friends and family. We are absolutely being screwed over with these agreements they're coming up with. For 8.5 billion, they're going to sell the future of this country to the Americans, to the people in Europe. They're going to sell our coal, the best grade coal. They're going to sell to overseas countries because they need the energy desperately through this winter. And they're going to send all the crappy coal to Eskom. They've been doing that since forever. And no, the Guptas aren't there anymore. and no one is asking any questions. This is typical. As long as people follow the mainstream media blindly, you are going to be fooled with what is actually happening on the ground. But fortunately, the people on this channel are more awake than that. They can see through the nonsense. And in this article, it is clear that this so-called just energy transition all of a sudden is called they said that the nuke deal was going to be R1 trillion, which was a lie. It wasn't going to be that much. Between 300 and 400 billion. Now the green transition is 4.5 trillion. And they have no problem saying it. So they can say in future, oh, no, but we told you so. We didn't hide the numbers. We're not hiding the numbers. And what are we going to do about it? One simple thing. We need to change this governance system as fast as possible. People need to understand that we cannot stay doing the same thing that we're doing over and over and thinking that someone new in the current setup that we're in is going to make any difference. It's a setup that's wrong. We need to change the setup, and we are busy doing that on the ground. I want to thank everyone that's involved in that and creating awareness for it. Thank you so much. See you in the members chat at 8 o'clock. Good night. Remember to share, people. Share this video and like the video so that more people can get to see it. Good night.